Hey gang, welcome back. Live with Shaman here this evening. We're continuing our series on astral travel. Not astral projection, but astral travel. So we talk about what is astral travel. And we've discussed it in the prior weeks. And we have learned that astral is a place where we can go to meet, discuss, work with members of the spiritual realm. The realm where spirit guides, um, the council, Great Spirit, God and Goddess, the Triad, where they stay, where they live. The masters of the Astral College, the holders of the Akashic Records, the librarian within the Akashic Records, the Hall of Records, as it were. Astral travel is a wonderful thing. Hello, Dave. Astral travel is a wonderful thing that there are multiple ways to access, if you will. One of the most common ways to access astral is through meditation. However, what we call spontaneous astral, I'll talk about that in this broadcast. We're going to talk about meditative astral travel, spontaneous astral, and partial astral. We'll also talk about the awakened state of astral travel in this part 2 of Astral series, Achieving Astral. Now, anybody that you talk to, for the most part, different people are going to see the astral in a different way. They're going to have different realms and different avenues and different aspects of the astral that some can get to, some cannot. Some simply perform an awakening, though they never actually have any forward memory of astral itself. This doesn't mean that you've never been to the astral. And it doesn't mean that you have. What it simply means is that if you have experienced astral, that you do so in a different manner than other people. Astral travel is not concrete. Astral travel is not something that is experienced the same by all. What do you say, Danae? Dave, glad y'all could join us this evening. Dave, I know that you're kind of from the southern west coast, if you will, not necessarily, I don't think in direct path of Hurricane Emma, but I know you said earlier you were headed up to Tennessee, I believe it were. I hope you're safe and dry there. Danae, I hope you're doing well. I think you're from a little bit more central northern America, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. Our hopes and prayers are definitely with those in the southwestern quadrants that are getting hammered and peppered by Emma at the moment. Wow. Two hurricanes hit the American coast inside of 30 days of each other. That's unheard of. Danae says, nope, Nebraska. All good here. Yeah, but wait till the snows hit. Yeah. Danae will be chipping ice chunks off her butt. So, back where we were going, astral travel part 2, achieving astral. Ugh, harsh. I just giving you a hard time. Um, yeah. So let's talk about some of the ways of achieving astral, shall we? Like I said in the beginning, you have spontaneous astral, where it's just kind of like poof, you're there. You have meditative astral, where you actually sit down with the intent of traveling to the astral planes. You have partial astral, where you get bits and pieces of memories of things of another plane or another spiritual realm. And then you have the awakened astral, where typically you get little blitz, little knowledge points, little ideas of things that just happen to come to you from astral. Danae says, and dream state. Uh, Dream state is also known as spontaneous astral, where you achieve astral totally, completely by accident in your dreams. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to tell the difference between dreams and astral. How can you tell the difference of what's just a dream or what's actual astral? And so yeah, let's get started, shall we? Got Dr. Pepper. I got vape. It's all good. Somebody said the other day, Puff the Shaman Dragon. Nah, me no dragon. Me Pegasus. Yeah. So, I call them informal dreams where it's direct to the point, Danae says. Well, rock on with your bad self. Get right to the point. Dave says, when I visit the dead, I know I'm there. Dave, visiting the dead, depending on the plane that you go to, that's a completely, totally different astral realm. Right. Achieving astral number one. Let's start with the one that is the most common. Spontaneous astral. Spontaneous astral is achieved generally in the dreamscape, right? Some people call it dream state, but it's actually the dreamscape. It's an area within the realm, or when you reach REM, rapid eye movement dreams, that your conscious mind typically is not necessarily aware of the things that are going on. However, you have portions of your mind that do dream. These dreams are generally emphasized by things that are going on in your world at the time. Stress, anxiety, happiness, a new relationship maybe. Something that's weighing heavily on your mind that you're trying to get answers to. Your brain is going to function within that to try to make sense of it. Hence, the dream. Now, typically, and I say typically because I'll have somebody that'll buck it just to say that they can. Typically, human dreams are black and white. I say again, typically, human dreams are black and white. Astral travel, when you're dealing with the spiritual realms and the realms of the astral, typically those are full livid color. Now here's the thing. In the astral, your senses are very acute. They're hyper aware. Your sense of smell, hearing, sight, feel, touch, energy, the whole bit, comes into a very heightened awareness, if you will, when you've achieved astral travel. Now, I don't ever want to see it here or see anybody on my channel use the term astral projection. That term was invented by Charmed many, many years ago. Astral projection is not something that you do. Projecting is the sending of one's spirit to another location on this realm. When you actually go to the astral, you're traveling. Your essence, your entire spirit is traveling to the astral plane to achieve whatever reason you have to be there. Now, some people will say, I never recall black and white dreams. Okay, fine. But I say again, typically human dreams are black and white. Astral is full living color. Smell, sense of taste, um, experiencing sense of touch, interaction with other spirits. Right. Now there's going to be areas of the astral that we're going to cover later on, different avenues, aspects, different realms, and different things that you can do in the astral that you will most of the time have physical evidence that you achieved this astral travel. The gray layer is not in the astral. When you dream, no. When you're dreaming, your mind is causing the dream. When you astral travel, you actually have a certain amount of control over that experience, right? One of the quick ways that you can decide mentally whether or not you're dreaming or whether or not you're an astral. When you interact with other beings in the astral, you do not have control over what they're doing. Listen to me closely before you jump up and go, check it out, right? Hear me all the way through before you light up your keyboards to tell me I'm wrong. Here we go. When you're in the astral, you're interacting with other beings, you're interacting with other spirits, and you're interacting with a physical, spiritual world, if you will, right? In the astral, you can control what you do, but you cannot control what other spirits do. You cannot control what other beings do. You can ask them, would you? Do you mind if I join you? Do you mind if I sit and listen? But you cannot control what the metaphysical creatures and what the other beings and spirits do in the astral. You cannot. Because you are a visitor to that plane. Now, one of the quick ways you can tell a dream from the astral is in a dream, 100% of the time, I say again, 100% of the time, in a dream, you can control all creatures, all emotions, all events, everything that happens in a dream. So that being said, we know that dreams are completely controllable, right? And we know that astral, we are a part of a bigger place. Now the way we achieve astral, and I'm going to continue on, is, like I said, through spontaneous astral. We go to bed, we go to sleep, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a very vividly beautiful, very wonderful, colorful, the smells are beautiful, and depending on where your landing place is in the astral, depends on where you land. When I first started out practicing astral travel, I stuck with landing in the astral garden. The garden of the astral where you can meet with your spirit guide. right? So when you're meeting with your spirit guide for the first time and you're learning to land in the astral, I recommend that you choose the astral garden as your initial landing point to meet and sit and talk with your spirit guide. Now, if you're far more advanced than that and you know what you're doing better than I do, by all means, waddle your ass right along and you land wherever you want to. But as far as a introduction to astral, this is for people that will be watching the pre-recorded shows later and reading what you're posting over here. So if you're new to the astral, you're not used to going, or you don't know if you've ever been, when you're slipping into the astral and you're requesting entry into the astral, I recommend that you request entry into the astral garden. Have a particular bench that you land on. When you slide into the astral, you'll feel a slight bump. Your body might feel a slight jerk. You get used to that, right? When you first enter the astral, then you can ask to meet and talk with your spirit guide. Because if you're brand new to it and you've never been before, then here's where you can meet with your spirit guide, learn and start learning some of the things that you need to learn. You can start working your way into other avenues and aspects of the astral, right? Now, as you will read over in the text area, everybody has a different way of doing it. What I'm doing for you that are watching the pre-recorded program at a later date is to give you some ideas if you're brand new. I'm not brand new, Danae's not brand new, Dave's not brand new, and some of the other practitioners that'll be posting have been doing it differently for many years, and that's fine. But for you newcomers that are needing to learn for the first time, some of you are probably coming to us from, shall we say, less than supportive households, less than supportive families, if you will. So if you sit down to meditate and you sit down with the intention to go to the astral, there are a couple of rules that you need to understand as you're doing this, right? Don't try to meditate. I've done videos on meditation where I've said a million times, you don't have to try to meditate. You get your place ready, you get your space cleared, you clear your mind, you sit down, you relax with the forward mind intention of achieving astral travel. If you're noticing yourself or you're finding yourself doing spontaneous astral travel while you sleep, I recommend that you have a dream journal beside your bed, because sometimes these things will wake you up. And when you wake up out of a dream, that's when you want to jot it down, whether it's dream or whether it's astral. You may not know yet. First thing I've always recommended is, in the first segment, black and white or color, until you begin to know the difference between dream and astral, right? So jot down black and white or color. Then you go on with what you can best remember. Let's say color, because we know that's going to be astral. Were you able to smell the flowers? Were you able to smell the trees and everything around you? Did you actually have a physical sense of being able to smell your environment? Yes or no? If no, it's not that you're doing it wrong, it's just that that part of you hadn't picked up yet. Did you ask if you could meet with your spirit guide? I'd really like to meet with my spirit guide. And your spirit guide may come to you as a puff of smoke, may come to you as a humanistic figure. I've had some people that have had their spirit guides come to them in an animal form. I can tell you that most everybody I have ever taught or worked with, their spirit guides come to them in human form because it's easier for the human mind to recognize, interact with, and work with human form. Now we will achieve and we will receive at some point spirit animals. Okay? As you become used to what's going on, you become more used to going in and out of astral, um, you will achieve in a meeting with your astral form or your astral spirit animal. Now that's going to come later on in the series. What I'm trying to do right now is keep it extremely simple and extremely step by step, if you will. Because I promise you, if I let myself, I will digress. I will get sidetracked and I will get way far away to trying to carry you faster than what you may be ready to go. So again, we're using, let's try to use the meditative astral aspect. So we sit down, we've got our space cleansed, we've got ourselves ready, however we prepare to meditate. I don't recommend that you use music because music can get into your head and offset what you're looking to see. I recommend a purely soundproof room if possible, or as least sound as possible. Me, I like using a fan because the white noise of the electric motor of the fan and the sound of the wind does help me slide into a more controlled meditation. And as you put in your forward mind that you want to achieve astral, keep it simple, okay? For today, for right now, keep it simple. Ask to land in the astral garden in a landing place that is built for you. The very first time I went to astral, almost 30 years ago now, it was, in all honesty, after reading a book, Flying Without Broomsticks. And I found the book extremely intuitive. I found it very educational, and I don't like reading books. But the biggest thing I really enjoyed in the book is where it talked about keep it simple. Okay? Don't try to, your first time out in astral, don't try to just really jump out and go into all of these realms and jump through the different veils and, you know, go into the different places. The name of the book was Flying Without Broomsticks. I think it's out of print now, but you can still find it. Once again, Flying Without Broomsticks. It's a good read. It's a very small book, straight, simple, to the point. But I remember, and again, this was 30 years ago, so hang with me. But I remember step one, meditation. Become comfortable with meditation. Become comfortable with OBE. Project your spiritual self outside and just sit and look at yourself sitting there meditating. It's really kind of cool. And then practice landing. So what you want to do is you want to practice this step-by-step process of achieving spiritual separation from the body. Okay? Because it's going to kind of freak you out the first time you ever do it in, under control. Most people have experienced spiritual disconnection at some point, and the landing can be rather abrupt, causing you to seriously almost kick yourself out of bed, so to speak. But in a controlled meditative atmosphere, what you want to do is practice stepping outside of your body, stepping outside of yourself, looking at yourself sitting there meditating. Now, what I did and what really worked for me is I practiced with OBE first, out of body experience. I separated my spiritual self, kind of sit there and looked at myself. I thought, now that's kind of cool. And what I really thought was cool is when I touched myself and my physical body felt me touch myself on my arm. Now, the first time I did it, I don't mind telling you, it scared the shit out of me, and I slammed back in my body and scared the shit out of myself. I woke up with a massive freaking headache like you would not believe. But that was my first time. I'm always a skeptic, right? I'm always a skeptic, so show me. I'm not from the show me state, but I am from the show me uh, environment. Yeah. So I showed myself to old boy. So, I started with that practice. I separated and I got to where I could touch me. And I was okay with touching me. I could touch myself on the arm. I could feel it. I knew that this was real because I could feel the touch of the finger on the skin and I could feel the touch of the skin under the finger. That'll screw with your head. So, as we move forward, our second step, what I did, achieving getting used to coming out of a body, doing a spirit body separation. Okay? What I did in step two is in OBE, I got used to moving around the house, getting a little further and a little further away from my physical self so that my spirit could move around and do what it needed to do. What do you say, Sean? Well, as I got to where I could go into the living room, now I never could turn on the TV. I tried. I never could move things around with my spirit self. Gave it a go. Never did happen. But I did become very comfortable with OBE, out of body experience. Now don't confuse OBE with Astral. Two different, completely, totally different planets. But you get used to that spirit separation because when you do astral projection, when you do astral projection part 2, achieving astral, Sean, it's in the title bar. Strange thing up at the top. Yeah, love you, dude. Anyway, um, as you get ready to perform the astral travel, you're already accustomed to the spirit separation. You're already accustomed to separating the spirit from the body, right? Here we go. Step 3. We've achieved meditation. We've achieved very small OBEs. This isn't a class on OBE. This is a class on astral. But for me personally, my first trip in a controlled astral travel where I was paying attention to what I was doing, I used OBE first. I came back in, and as I become more used to and more comfortable with that spiritual separation, if you will, right? Then I could focus on astral. So my next step into achieving astral travel was to put into my mind, I really want to do a controlled trip to the astral. I want to do a consciously controlled trip to the astral. I had had spontaneous astral travel. I had been yanked while driving down the road. That's a spooky ass feeling. And I've done spontaneous astral as long as I can remember, way back before I even knew what the hell astral was. But this was a controlled, premeditated, going to meditate, going to achieve astral, because I wanted to call my spirit guides and sit down and have a conversation, just like we would talk face to face. Now, I don't mind telling you, the first time I achieved controlled astral, um, it was a little disconcerting because it was a different world. It truly felt to me, when I was younger, when I first started learning how to do it, it truly felt to me like it really was not on planet Earth at all. I mean, I knew it wasn't an OBE because in OBE, though I could see other individuals, I couldn't interact with them, I couldn't talk to them. Sometimes I could hear them, but I couldn't open doors. In OBE, I just went through doors. Walls are non existent in OBE. In Astral, I was talking to people. People could hear me talking to people, and other people were interacting just as if I was in an actual room here on this plane, and I had memory of these conversations. I could open doors, interact with my surrounding world. In the astral, I could turn the pages of a book once I got introduced to the librarian of the Astral College, or the Akashic Records, the Astral Library. The Akashic Records are a wonderful place, but that's later on, right? In part two of Astral Travel, I just want you to be used to and be comfortable with achieving astral with a premeditated state. Now, what does that mean? Well, a premeditated state of achieving astral travel is something that you're going to do. It's, when you sit down and you meditate and you say, okay, I want to achieve astral travel today or tonight or whatever, because I want to meet Spirit Guide. I want to sit and I want to talk to Spirit Guide. You may or may not accomplish it on your first trip to the astral. You may not. After 2 or 3 trips to the astral, you've communicated with your Spirit Guide. One of the things I ask my Spirit Guide is, what is my job? What is my path? What am I supposed to do in this lifetime? And that's when Spirit Guide explained to me that I needed to research shamanism. I needed to understand the philosophy of spiritual architecture and understand the architecture of the pagan philosophy. Now again, this was 30 years ago. I had no fucking clue. Now, as you're learning to achieve, as you're learning to achieve astral, then you want to practice different landing zones, okay? And I firmly recommend that until you are very comfortable with what's going on in astral, so that you don't end up accidentally landing in someone's battlefield that you're not actually ready for. Been there, done that once. Don't ever do it again. That one hurt. But you think you get the big balls. You think you get the big balls and you can do anything you want to. And eventually you think that, you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, you can go wherever the hell you want. Till the first time you go frittering through one of these veils into a land that you're not wanted, and something smacks you back through the veil because your big ball self decided to enter someplace you weren't wanted. And all of the other aspects that the guys are talking about in the chat room, they're very valid aspects, but we're going to cover in in session, right? This is the Astral series. Tonight we're talking about achieving astral travel, the basics, right? So definitely read what these guys are posting. It's going to help you further on. And next week, we'll do Astral Part 3, moving around, getting around in the astral. And of course, I'll announce it again at the end of the program, right? But as we achieve astral, we want to get used to landing. And it said, why land? Later, later, later in the series. Why not land? When you were a baby, you didn't jump out of the crib, balls to the walls, running, even though you probably tried, smack down on your face. The astral is a wonderful place. It's also a place that you must conduct yourself with the utmost reverence and respect. Now, if some people want to achieve astral travel and get up there and go just run amok and go hog wild and go wherever the hell they think they want to, um, it's your karma, not mine. Okay? The astral is a big place. When you're doing controlled astral or meditative astral travel, have some place in mind, right? One of the things that my spirit guide did for me, and as I later met my astral master, the one who taught me how to battle, how to fight, um, the astral college, who taught me the things that I needed to know. As I started to achieve more and more respect by other realms, other individuals, and other people in the astral, I was given quite a bit of wisdom, quite a bit of knowledge of what goes on in the astral. So I have a strong recommendation that you practice landing, especially those of you that have never done it before. Practice landing in different places. Ask your spirit guide, what are some of the places that I can go as a beginner? Now, there may be places you go in dreamscape. There may be places that you go spontaneously astral. That's fine. Whatever. Okay? Enjoy it. Play with it. Those are different realms that you're allowed to go to anyway. But when you're doing controlled astral travel, when you're doing a meditative controlled astral travel, you're specifically doing it to learn. You're specifically doing it because you want that wisdom, you want that knowledge, you want to be able to learn what the astral is about. Case in point, right? When you go to school or you go to college, you don't walk into college and just run amok and go into any college room you want and walk in and sit down and go, 30 seconds, reading, I got it, out the door. Right? You don't walk into a professor's room and go, right, give me a book, give me a book, give me a book. Where's the book? I want the book. Can I read the book? Oh, I read 3 pages of the book. I got it. I know all there is to know. Out the door. Or at least I hope you don't. I don't recommend you do. In case you haven't realized, I am extremely reverent, defensive, and protective of the astral realm. The reason for that is on this plane, on the earth plane, people do not respect people's place. People do not respect their own place. People do not respect teachers. People do not respect studentry. People do not respect each other, and they don't respect each other's places or space, especially on the earth realm. And there are realms in the astral where it's the same way. People run amok. They don't give a shit. They have no respect for the teacher. They have no reverence for the leaders and the masters of the astral. Well, that's between you and your spirit guides, isn't it? Absolutely. So what we're doing with this series is it's truly geared to get the input of those that have been doing astral for a very long time, as you're seeing posted over in the chat area. But it's also to be able to take you step by step, slow you down a little bit. Because so much of the time today, people think, I know this, I got this. Oh, you can't tell me where to go. Bullshit. If you are truly accessing the astral realm, and you go flitting in and out of realms where you've not been invited and you're not welcome, there will be a price to pay. There always is. And I will get those, and I've had them that says, I go where the hell I want to. Nobody says shit to me. Okay. Whatever, dude. Make a shit to me because I'm not the one that's going to have the sore balls. So get on with your bad self. But if you want to follow a step by step, and if you're actually looking for a really good book, the only one I've ever found worth a damn is Flying Without Broomsticks. There's a million books out there on the astral that get into the mystic shit. What you want is straight language. What you want is straight knowledge within astral travel and achieving astral. Now here's another aspect of achieving astral. There's another aspect of spontaneous astral. I've done it. It'll scare the hell out of you. And it's not always safe, though I've been relatively fortunate to date. And that is spontaneous astral while you're driving down the road. My average commute is 40 miles to work and 40 miles home from work. It is nothing in the world for first thing in the morning. I'm cruising to work. Cruise control set on 75. There's not many other people on the road. And physical self is driving the automobile. And the spirit has left the building. It is off going somewhere else. I know it's not doing OBE because OBE requires a bit of the physical eye and the spiritual eye combined to be able to see what's going on. Right? So spontaneous astral can be interesting, fun, shocking at times. So when you're working with the different astral planes and you're first introducing yourself to different people in the astral, be respectful, right? Do not walk up to someone in the astral, hey, how are you, friend? Nice to meet you. Just shake your hand. No. No. Depending on where you are in the astral and depending on who you're meeting, I can tell you when I first met my master trainer in the astral, it was a bow. There was no handshaking. There was no touching of the body parts. It was a simple reverence bow. Now that was me. Yours may be different. In fact, it probably will be. Right? So who you meet in the astral is between you and whatever your spirit guides lead you to do, if you're one who follows your spirit guides. If you're one who likes to just follow whatever run amok you decide to follow, that's up to you. Strictly up to you. Right? So that is typically all for this evening in achieving astral, right? Spontaneous astral, in dream, whatever. Been there, done that. Didn't get a whole lot from it other than a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of knowledge. I get more out of what I call meditative astral, where I actually either lay down or sit down. I can't sit for too long anymore as I get older. But when I lay down and I specifically, consciously request entrance into certain areas of the astral, right? So, with that being said, I'm going to move my monitor window out of the way and let's read. Sean is whittering on about keys. Which doors? Well, let's see. Let me scroll back because I appear to be missing something. Sean says, do you understand the keys? Yes, it opens doors. Duh. Which doors? Ones you know, ones you don't. All doors, what I understand. I don't use keys. Never did. When I approach a particular astral realm that I don't have open access to, I locate the gate of the realm. I speak to the guardian of the gate and I ask for allowance into the realm. Yes, in the astral, you can meet with passed on relatives. You can sit and you can chat with passed on relatives. More power to you, rock on. Me, my first couple of trips to the astral, I'll be honest with you, I had already spoken to all of my relatives who had passed on. I had already communicated with the relatives of this plane that passed on. When I started achieving astral, I was able to meet with the ancestors, the guardians. I have a feeling, my fine feathered friends. Alright, Danae is talking about the keys. It's more of a metaphorical key, if you will. I was given the ability to ask entry. Danae was given keys. Sean says 4. I've heard of people given keys before, but I've never actually used keys in the astral. These would be other avenues and aspects of different people who enter the astral, like I was saying earlier. The way you enter the astral is going to be different for you than it is for everyone else. So don't ever, I say again, don't ever let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong. If it works for you and you're showing respect and you're respecting the realms and the guardians of the realms, if you're given keys, the key doesn't fit the door, move on. So, we've had some good conversation. I was kind of halfway watching the chat area while I was, I really wasn't being a horse's ass. I'm just trying to keep it as basic as possible. I want people that watch the pre-recorded broadcast later to go, okay, I understand that, or I don't understand that. Let me rewind and try it again. I want them to read what you guys who have been doing it for years are posting. But as far as newcomers, first years and seekers and what have you, I like for all of my videos to be um, um, choreographed and orchestrated for them because they're just getting into it. It's not that I am ignoring you. I am, but that's beside the point. I always give a little time at the end so that we can go over Q&A and I can read through some of y'all's points of view because I love them. You know, we've all been there. Sean says we are the key. Keys are just a representative. I get that. I can see that. Y'all are talking like you have read the Key of Life series by Nora Roberts. You're making a lot of references back to the trilogy. Very good book series, by the way. Um, so, what have we learned? Well, we've learned that what the astral is. It's a plane, it's not earthbound, it is its own existence. Science has not been able to prove nor disprove the existence of the astral plane. We've also learned that, in my opinion, the best way to achieve astral is to sit down and meditate and do a premeditative or a thought out astral travel so that you're going step by step and you're learning in baby steps instead of trying to throw yourself into a realm in which you might not know what you're doing or be welcome for that matter. If you cannot enter a realm at first, bow or say thank you to the guardians of that particular realm and turn around and bugger off and try another one. Astral travel meditation is good in the woods, yes it is, as long as you make sure you're sitting on something safe and something doesn't crawl up or down your pants and decide to eat parts of you for lunch. That can be mildly uncomfortable. Like Danae says, yes, don't skip the steps, right? Understand, and spirit guides are a wonderful thing. Like she said, one of the steps her spirit guides taught her. Don't just jump in both feet. Enjoy the learning of it, right? Enjoy learning how to land. Enjoy learning how to sit and relax and enjoy the peace and quiet of the astral garden. It's a wonderful place. You can achieve astral travel to the garden anytime, day or night, with a thought once you get used to it. Yes, there are. There are lions and tigers and bears. Excuse me. Depending on where you go in the astral, there are lions and tigers and bears and Pegasus and unicorns and, you know, all of that good stuff. Sean keeps saying, I'm in your head, Don. Sean, come on, brother. You've been in my head for years. Kick back and enjoy. Bring the barbecue. Danae says hers are green grassy hills. That's where I land. That's what's comfortable for you. I love gardens. There's nothing I love better than a beautiful garden with roses and tulips and all of the different smells of the beautiful flowers that are available to us here on planet Earth. And amazingly enough, I have never had a single allergy in the astral. Go figure. Sean says, I don't land unless I'm needed. Dude, there's no difference between that and you on this plane. Hell, when you were coming to Circle, I couldn't get you to sit in one place longer than 10 minutes unless I put a drum between your legs. And even then, you weren't sitting still. Yeah. The man don't sit still. It makes me wonder if he even sleeps. Although I know he sleeps on a well. He goes to bed on occasion because he's got kids. Unless he figured out how to do that running or flying. Anyway. Hey, I love flying too. That'll be talked about later. So, that's it for part 2, folks. Part 2, Achieving Astral. And part 3 is going to be moving around in the astral. We're going to talk about how to see your astral self. What do you look like in the astral? Do you look like your human self? Do you automatically take form of a metaphysical creature or a creature on this plane? Or do you take form of something else completely? On part 3, we'll talk about moving into the astral and seeing your astral self. Sean says, I look awesome. There you go. Be well, guys, and of course, our thoughts, our blessings, and hopes and prayers go out to those people in Florida and the other western states who are nailed by Hurricane Irma, right? Next week, we'll be talking about Astral Part 3, moving around in the astral and seeing your astral self. Have a good week. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night. We'll see you next time here on Live with the Shaman.